Yo, Drake, my brother, I think you're not reading the room here. You just went through one of the most horrifying rap battles of life. I do kind of look at Drake like, bad timing again.
Lobbies and gentle grams. In today's wild episode of LO in Gentle Land, the wig-rocking wannabe Tupac in a tight waistsuit just got completely washed by Joe Budden. The so-called Pac lookalike thought he was untouchable, but Joe had him banished from the podcast with no mercy. This is the petty petition era. Padre Pac-Man, the Marilyn Monroe ho himself, has been throwing shade at Bud for what feels like centuries. But when it was time to prove his bars could outshine Joe's, the so-called mob boss folded fast, melting down like snow in Toronto. The crazy part? Joe's retired now. And that's giving LO just enough confidence to toss out slick Instagram captions like darts, but Joe doesn't let anything slide. He fired back quick, telling Supac to stay away. And you know Joe doesn't mince his words. The clash keeps boiling up, and we're here to break it all down. Oh, and don't forget, smash those like and subscribe buttons until they can take it anymore. Now, lobbies and gentle grams. Word on the street is people started calling LO soak. And DJ Khaled once said, I like that I can adapt. You know what? Same energy here. But picture this. La Brianna walking out of a hotel room only to be blasted in the ears by a little Danish kid blasting Not Like Us. What a scene.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Of course, LO's own security stormed in to check the kid after the noise caused a stir. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, La Brianna decided to slide onto Bobby Alto's podcast, while one major platform slammed the door shut. That platform, the biggest hip-hop podcast, founded by none other than his longtime frenemy, Joe Budden. In this video, we were diving deep into the messy history of Drake and Joe Budden, how they went from close to throwing shade like enemies. Remember when the Migos rapped? If somebody's hating, call him Joe Budden. For years, Joe was the poster child of hate. But lately, it's La Brianna hurling shade at Joe. And while Budden once responded with love and feedback, that's long gone. Now, LO is officially banished from the podcast circle. Things heated up when Joe and his co-hosts addressed LO's Twitter finger meltdown. The Toronto tough-talking Taylor Swift twin had aimed shots at Rob Markman, one of hip-hop's most respected journalists. Drake called him a goof for not catching a Wayne lyric, and Rob clapped back, I could call you names too, but I know you love to sue. Joe loved that moment, even joking that the world now calls LO Supac. A nod to the fact he might have copped a fake Tupac death row chain. That's where things get shady. The seller behind that chain claimed to have legendary items. Michael Jackson's stage-worn shoes, a signed Thriller vinyl with Quincy Jones, even the iconic crystal glove. But once LO flexed the chain, the business took a hit, especially after Kendrick and the Clips lit up LA and stole the spotlight. LO looked petty, desperate to distract from Kendrick's win.
Microphone that Pusha T used during the show, it had his autograph on it. That was like a really, really big Clips fan. I used to pretend I was perform all the Clips songs in my basement with the mic, and then I performed with it so much that I rubbed the autograph off. At the time, it meant the world to me, though. I'm gonna regret even telling this story. I'm gonna regret even telling this story.
Embarrassing!
Even Suge Knight from Behind Bars is saying there was only one real death row chain, and LO's isn't it. Yet the seller insists there were multiple. So who's telling the truth here? Tupac had several chains made. And sure, maybe this wasn't the one from the All Eyes on Me cover, but it was still something that touched his hands at one point. And if you don't get why people are outraged about Drake flexing it, think of it like this. Kendrick Lamar has been rocking that X chain at every GNX tour stop. Imagine years from now, Kendrick passes, and some random rapper from another city with no real connection to him suddenly buys that same chain just to taunt someone else. No respect for the legacy, no real tribute, just pettiness. That's how people feel about Drake's move. Drake didn't even drop a heartfelt caption when posting it. No words honoring Tupac's history, no reflection on what death row meant to hip-hop. Nothing. He just threw it on Instagram the same night Kendrick and the Clips tore down LA. Fans saw it for what it was, a shot at Kendrick. That's why so many say it feels disrespectful, not like a tribute at all. And it doesn't stop there. Drake has been making bold moves that look like he is pulling away from American hip-hop altogether. From saying on stage that US rappers can't touch UK rappers, to beefing with respected journalists like Rob Markman, to only doing content with creators like Adin Ross and Bobby Altoff, who don't even care about hip-hop culture. Adin even said hip-hop is dead. People see this as Drake turning his back on the very culture that made him. Joe Budden himself weighed in, saying he tuned into Rob Markman's response after Drake called him a goof, and Joe was frustrated that Rob went too easy. But here's the thing, Rob has always been about respect. I remember watching him break down bars and say, "I can give my interpretation, but only the artist knows who it's aimed at." That honesty stuck with me forever. He showed that integrity matters more than cheap clickbait. Even with Drake throwing shots, Rob stayed professional, fair, and calm. Then things took another twist. A Lil Wayne fan page resurfaced an old 2019 interview I had with Tory Lanez. Tory rapped Wayne's Dedication 2 verse in a dramatic reading style. Hilarious moment. But when he passed the line to me, I fumbled. I knew the verse, but dropped the ball live, caught in 4K, red-handed. 6 years later, Champagne Papi himself jumped into the comments writing, "Of course this goof Markman couldn't finish the bar. Free Tory." Jokes, right? But then Rob clapped back saying, "I got jokes too, but I gotta watch what I say, cause you might sue." Still light-hearted, but with a sharp edge. Then you know what happens. It becomes a full-blown story. But here is the thing. Anyone who really follows me knows I'm not about disrespect. I'll say, I don't like a song, or I don't rate a line, or I think someone won or lost a battle, but I don't come at people personally. I don't call names. I don't drag family. I don't do the gossip lane. It's always about the music. 21 years in this game, and not once have I lied to the people. You might not agree with me, but the facts, I never twist those. I know this storyline's pulling in new attention, but nothing changes for me. Like a great writer once said, know yourself. I know who I am. No axe to grind, no fake disrespect, just dedication to telling hip-hop's story the right way. Of course, in today's world, fan accounts, bots, and planted stories will flood timelines, but you won't catch me acting out of character. Joe Budden said Rob Markman's response wasn't spicy enough, but that's not who Rob is. He doesn't gain anything by going academic style and ranting. Drake already gave him publicity just by calling him a goofball. Ironically, it's Drake who looks like the goof for taking that route. So Joe and his co-hosts asked the real question. Why would Drake even jump out the gate with comments like that? Rob never did anything to him. Truth is, nothing sparked it, except Drake's sensitivity. Joe says it S because Drake has issues with anyone who didn't hunt cheerlead during the beef. But the truth goes deeper. This insecurity has been there long before. Think back to 2020 when Joe was hosting a pool party live on IG. Drake left a comment, "Play Story of Adidon. I guarantee you Rob Markman will be the only one who knows that song word for word." He thought it was a joke. But isn't it ironic? Back then he mocked Rob for knowing too much hip-hop, and now he's mocking him for missing a Wayne bar. Rob's knowledge of the culture is exactly why people respect him. This tension with journalists traces back even further. Remember Kendrick's legendary Control verse? Drake was the only rapper who gave salty interview answers instead of dropping a rebuttal track. That moment changed everything. After that, Drake stopped sitting down with real press. No more tough interviews. Every appearance became tightly controlled. Hosted on his own channels, questions screened, edits locked. He's resented media ever since, because when they asked real questions about Kendrick, about Quentin Miller, about reference tracks, it left him exposed. Now he paints journalists as goofballs so he can dodge accountability. The truth? He's embarrassed by what came out of his own mouth in those interviews, and by targeting someone neutral like Rob, who never trashed him, only stayed balanced, Drake knows he can get his shots off without real backlash. He won't risk that smoke with someone like Glasses Malone or DJ Head, who'd fire back loud and direct. And let's not forget, at the start of this Drake versus Kendrick war, hip-hop media wasn't on Kendrick's side. Charlemagne, academics, Fat Joe, even Math Hoffa were questioning why Kendrick took so long to reply. They said maybe Kendrick was scared. Only after Kendrick actually dropped did the consensus shift. But before that, media was leaning Drake's way.
Kendrick, you on the clock, gang.
Kendrick on the clock. Okay, Kendrick is all the way on the clock.
The boogeyman's coming.
Which boogeyman?
There's only one boogeyman.
I hear this whole, you're on the clock, you're on the clock, you're on the clock.
Now, neither one of them is gonna make me look at somebody away because they're taking their time. Drake did what he had to do, and it looks like he's continuing to do it even with the bots game he's playing. And Kendrick is playing Silent Assassin, Kung Fu Kenny games.
Then the conversation shifted again. Parks brought up an article about the death of album reviews, how critics don't get valued the same anymore. That tied into Joe Budden's own review of For All the Dogs in 2023, where he said Drake needed to stop surrounding himself with young girls and actually grow musically. Drake took offense, not just mentioning it in a track, but unleashing a full rant online. Drake fired at Joe. "You failed at music. You quit and turned to podcasting because that's what pays your bills. You're a quitter telling others how to succeed. The raps you wrote brought 450 dusty guys to your shows. Don't ever speak on me." Drake went nuclear, proving just how much Budden's critique cut deep. "Don't let these opinions shake your mindset," Drake blasted, calling Joe Budden the poster child of frustration and failure. "You retired, but nobody ever hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number." Drake went in hard, claiming Joe left rap not because he accomplished everything, but because it never worked out for him. Drake then flexed, bragging, "I own a 767 jet while you sit in a modest New Jersey house, flying first class only on special occasions. Brutal shots." But behind the flex, the truth was simple. Drake was angry over criticism of For All the Dogs. Joe called him out for rapping about young women, and Drake deflected with wealth talk. He even declared, "Everyone's entitled to their opinion is not a real thing," basically saying fans shouldn't critique him at all. That's the energy that fueled this whole meltdown. The debate turned to a bigger point, the death of album reviews. Parks noted how classic outlets like Rolling Stone or Pitchfork used to drop scathing critiques, but now play it safe. Fan bases are rabid. "You diss Nicki, the Barbs cancel you. You diss Drake, OVO stands bury you." Publications chase clicks instead of honesty, and it's made Drake nearly untouchable to criticism as long as he keeps pumping out hits, no matter how formulaic. Back then, reviews mattered. J. Cole hated being stuck with 6s and 7s while Kendrick got 9s and 10s. But now, scores barely matter. An article in The New Yorker even argued music criticism is collapsing, partly because fan armies drown out critics, and partly because artists themselves just refuse accountability. Joe Budden pointed out the difference between artists who want to grow and those who can T-handle feedback. He cited JID, Killer Mike, and Offset as rappers who want honest reviews. They came on the pod eager to hear what real fans thought. Meanwhile, others, like Drake, only want controlled interviews where they dictate the questions, the edits, the whole narrative. We saw it with Bobby Altoff. We saw it before with Elliott Wilson. It's a pattern. Still, Joe admitted, Drake would make an incredible interview if he ever sat down unfiltered. Imagine the questions. Why taunt Pharrell with melted chains? Why flaunt Tupac's jewelry and AI vocals in a beef? How did you really feel after Not Like Us exploded? How did the battle change your life when even your Toronto mansion was getting shot at? Real questions fans deserve answers to. Instead, when Drake touches on the beef, it's shallow. He shrugs with delusional lines like, "If I leave, girls will be twerking with dictionaries trying to understand Kendrick." Or, "I've got no friends in the industry." But then he shocked LeBron, and others stood with Kendrick at the pop-out. He downplays the damage, when in reality, it clearly shook him. OVO defenders claim, if you don't care about Drake, why want him interviewed? What about Kendrick? Truth is, Kendrick already spoke, Apple Music before the Super Bowl, reflecting after victory. J. Cole even gave the most transparent breakdown of all, dropping a whole web series about his career, insecurities, and artistry. Meanwhile, Drake, the one at the center of the storm, has given nothing but surface-level bravado. The silence speaks louder than his bars. That is why I actually love to see Drake in a real interview, because he can be funny, sharp, and entertaining. The problem? He avoids any platform outside of his own controlled bubble. Yes, Drake still does interviews, but only when he dictates the questions, the edits, and the vibe. And the truth is, every time he's sat with real hip-hop media, he's ended up looking foolish. Now he's beefing with respected journalists, isolating himself further from a culture many say he was never fully part of. That's wild, because early on, he was absolutely embraced. He had Lil Wayne and Jay Prince co-signing him, Trey Songz features back in 2007, even being the first Canadian with a video on 106 and Park. Every radio station wanted him, every journalist wanted to talk to him. There was never a time he wasn't welcomed. Yet now he acts resentful, like the media always hated him. That's simply not true. But let us be real. Drake has nothing to gain by sitting down with a Joe Budden or any other tough outlet. Fans don't need his answers, they just want hits. If he explained why he dragged Kendrick's fiancée into the beef, would that change anyone's opinion of him? Now, would it boost respect for his music? No, he's already too far gone. For Drake, there's only risk, no reward, in facing hard questions. That's why he sticks to Bobby Althoff and Adin Ross. Those light-hearted chats let him tap into white suburban audiences and young stream kids who will never press him about rap integrity. He can joke around, show personality, and avoid the embarrassment of answering for his own controversies. It's safe, it's calculated, and it works. And even if Drake wanted to hit hip-hop media again, Joe Budden made it clear he's banned. Joe called him the BBL buffoon and said the door's shut for good. Funny enough, just a few years back in 2020, Joe was asking when Drake would finally come on the pod. But after everything that's gone down, it makes perfect sense why Joe now says Drake is never welcome back.
Come on, you got to talk to more people than just Elliot.
Nah, yo, I can't do this with you right now.
Why?
Because I can't.
Because you're at the embassy?
Nah, I just I know where this is gonna go. It's gonna go left.
No, it's not. Yo, why do you think that about me, man? We can have like a smooth talk. You do it with Tory Lanez and all your other fucking buddies.
It's gonna be bad for the brand right now. Oh.
But all the other OVO dudes kick it with me.
I know. Everybody you.
You're the only one that avoids me for some strange reason.
Never avoid you. I just don't see you. We're never in the same place.
Because I'm too broke?
I didn't want to say.
You invited Elliot and B-Dot over there to the embassy. They got to see the Tootsie Slide exclusive. They got to hear Tupac in your bathroom.
Can I have another drink, please?
Look at this. You got a bartender there. Holy shit. Can I have a beverage? I'm parched. Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, go back to your live, man. I'm gonna talk. We have an interview to do for when the album's ready. I don't want to do this right now.
You've been saying that for a year, and then now I have a whole leaked album with 30 Drake joints.
That's old shit. That's not the new shit. Don't worry.
All right, fine. Enjoy yourself over there.
I'm gonna be in your comments though. Don't worry.
Yo, but let me ask you, why do you troll me this way? Honestly, you don't think it's hurtful to me?
Why? What do you mean? It's with an encouraging undertone.
Drake threw shots again on his 2025 track, Gimme a Hug, calling out Melissa Ford, co-host of the Joe Budden podcast. She's a legend from the 6, but she's standing next to a D-ass sucker. AKA Joe Budden, another jab tied to Budden's critique of For All the Dogs. Joe admitted he actually enjoys the back and forth, but Drake keeps giving us plenty to criticize. That's the thing. Kendrick sticks to music, so when he moves, it's a big moment. I cover Kendrick heavily when he drops, same with Cole and Tyler. But Drake, he stays in the headlines because he's constantly doing goofy, petty moves. That's why the criticism doesn't stop. From day one, hip-hop media embraced him. It's not hate for his come-up, it's hate for how he's moving now. And because of that, he's banned from both the Rapaholic Show and Joe Budden's podcast. Joe says he's got all the answers he needs, but I don't buy that. There are tons of unanswered questions. Why bring Kendrick's fiancée into the beef? Why make it personal instead of lyrical? Why use Whitney's name? None of those questions will ever make him look better, so Drake avoids them entirely. He'd rather throw subliminals in music than face the truth head-on. Joe even warned him, stay on the side of Bobby Althoff and Adin Ross. Don't try to play mafioso in your music. Then run back to hip-hop interviews crying about fairness. You burned that bridge after clowning Rob Markman. You chose the streamers who will never press you, so now you're stuck with them. That's why Drake targets people like Rob Markman. Easy shots. Rob's not going to verbally destroy him like Kendrick did. He'll take the high road with integrity, so Drake feels safe calling him a goof. But in the end, that makes Drake look weaker, not stronger. And here's the sad truth. Interviews barely matter in today's industry. What does a sit-down really do for artists anymore? Drake gains nothing by facing hard questions. For his brand, it's smarter to shut up, drop hits, and let his fans defend him. Interview culture is dying fast, and it sucks, because I grew up loving Big Boy, The Breakfast Club, all those classic sit-downs. But now, artists avoid them at all costs. And Drake, more than anyone, proves why. It's clear as day. Back then, artists had PR people coaching them on how to give clean, safe answers in interviews. But think about the stress. You are dragging yourself into a morning radio show like The Breakfast Club at 7 a.m., trying to promote your project, and suddenly Charlemagne, Angela Yee, and DJ Envy are pressing you with personal, messy questions. That's not promo, that's an interrogation. Now compare that to today's podcast and streamer culture. Why put yourself through the fire when you can slide onto a laid-back show with Adden Ross or DDG? Have fun, laugh a little, and still reach the same audience numbers. These streamers pull just as many views as the old-school outlets, Melder. But with zero risk. They're not digging into your dating life, your controversies, or your insecurities. They're just letting you vibe and push your brand without stress. No wonder traditional interviews are dying. And here's the kicker, Drake knows it. He's not running back to sit across from hard-hitting hip-hop journalists. Instead, he is setting up shop in Houston and could very well land on Joe Rogan's couch. Another easygoing chat, no tough questions about the losses he's taken in this rap beef. Don't expect a moment of accountability, expect jokes, stories, and surface talk. For Drake, that's the smart business move. So if you're waiting for a real Drake interview from the hip-hop side, forget it. You'll probably hear more hard questions come out in a courtroom during his lawsuit with Labriana than you'll ever hear from any podcast or journalist in the culture. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you on the next one.